Hello guys, welcome back to my channel. So I'll be talking about the theories floating around Cold Harbor. I've seen some going around the internet about how there is a possibility that Gemma is not the first to have gotten to that stage of Cold Harbor, that there might have been others that have come before. And also there's a theory that I kind of theorized myself from rewatching the scene again, or the entire season rather. So I would like to speak on that. So let's dive in. So what is Cold Harbor? Well, Cold Harbor is
Human's last door to completing Kier's vision, a world free of pain, and bring about salvation to the world.
At least that's what Kier's followers will tell you. And who is Gemma?
Gemma is the sacrificial goat that must be slain to bring about this world.
Another thing Kier's followers will tell you. But Gemma is not the first sacrifice to have endured the lonely, cold, white halls of doors. Doors that create entirely new souls, souls that are without life because they never lived, they never had the chance. They are ever present in the prison of a dentist's white walls, a crashing plane, a cozy Christmas decorated room, and many other hells we aren't shown. No, Gemma and her 25 souls are not the first to have endured all of these, and will likely not be the last if Lumen tarries past the chaos of season 2. Because like the others who came before her, she might have just failed Cold Harbor. So clearly, I have two claims here. The first is that there might be others before Gemma, and the second is that Cold Harbor didn't work with Gemma at the end of season 2, despite her dismantling the crib without expressing any emotion. Let's start with the first. So, two scenes are in support of this first theory that Gemma might not be the first person to have tested for Cold Harbor. The first is the Wall of Smiles in episode 3 of the first season. Irving, while taking Helly on a kind of onboarding excursion through the perpetuity wing of the building, took her to this room where the supposed smiles of all the people Lumen has helped are displayed. According to the propaganda piece he was fed, I'm sure. It isn't until the Chikai Bardo episode that we realize one of Gemma's innie is imprisoned in perpetuity with a dentist as a form of torture. And one of the things she's made to do is open her mouth for her teeth to be worked on by the so-called dentist. The assumption is that the others like her who came before did the same, and pictures of their teeth were taken during the session to be displayed on the wall we saw before. Now this theory is shaky because we don't see the creepy dentist taking any pictures with any sort of camera. So maybe the cameras are in the lights? Well, this is a possibility, but it's doubtful because we aren't given any sort of clue that something like that is going on. But again, it can't be ruled out because this is Severance we're talking about, a show where even the most important details are not made obvious to the audience at a glance. You mostly always need a rewatch before your bulb lights get switched on. Another reason for this theory being shaky is that if we are to extrapolate Gemma's fearful reaction to that of others who might have come before, we can assume that they weren't doing any smiling and were terrified like Gemma was. I know the obvious thing to say to counter this is that they weren't smiling at all, that they were instead doing the compulsory grin you do at the dentist, and that the point of view deceives us to make us think they were smiling. In response to that, I would point out the outlier on the screen, this image of a closed smile, which lets us see the others for what they actually are. Just plain smiles, nothing sinister, unless Lumen prepared for this and placed that there to make us come to this conclusion. I wouldn't put it past them, you know. Anyway, the second scene in support of the first theory is the one that begets the death of Drummond, and this one is more foolproof. But people seem to take note of only what was exchanged in conversation in that scene. I mean, I understand why. Lauren saying, "How many must I give?" is pretty clear. But if you pay attention, you will also notice that all of Drummond and Lauren's movements in that scene looked almost rehearsed, like something they've done countless times before, and has become routine beyond following instructions in maybe one of their cultish books for an event like this. Anyway, this interaction suggests that Lauren, lover of all things that bleat, is tired of sending her pets to the Shadow Realm as a companion to any poor Cold Harbor candidate who is mummified and permanently freed from pain. Now, for the theory about Gemma failing Cold Harbor, we know Kier's vision is to create a utopia where no one knows pain, and because of that, Miss Cobble's technology was adopted to sever people and create another being within their body who will bear the burden of every inconvenience they might ever have to face. To the followers of Kier, and probably the people who sever themselves, these innies, as they are called, are less than people. They are tools. But not to Kier. No, not him. You see, Kier is a principled man. He is so principled that he killed his twin brother because he was enriching the forest soil with his seed. So when he says something, he means it, and so when he says he wants a world free of pain, he is also including the innies. This is where Cold Harbor comes in. Think of Cold Harbor as the final release of a game. Mark is the oblivious developer, Lumen is the studio, and the 24 files completed by Mark Pryor are patches that contain bug fixes for the main game. Or, using a more fitting metaphor, Mark is the front-end developer of Cold Harbor. The back-end developers are the creators of the software used for refining. To perfect the Cold Harbor code, the back-end developers need Gemma to constantly go into these 24 rooms, with each visit generating new data to fix or prevent any potential bugs. These bugs are human emotions and pain, but the catch is that each person has a unique biosignature that can only be accessed through either shared trauma or long-term emotional connection, which makes Mark the only one with the key to her mental lock to make the code bug-free. Does that make any sense, or am I just rambling? Anyway, the point is Kier wants innies to be devoid of everything pertaining to human emotion because, unlike Gemma, when the Cold Harbor idea is eventually mainstream, each person would only have one innie that will go through every difficult or painful inconvenience of everyday life. That means the innie will have a short time to exist, and every time they do, they will find themselves doing something their outie would rather not do. That is literally hell. And sooner or later, the innie would break down, and a disaster is sure to happen. The only way to avoid this is to strip them of anything that makes them human. This brings us to Cold Harbor not working with Gemma. As Gemma stepped into the room, the life in her eyes disappeared. Not literally, by the way. You get what I mean. She lost any semblance of soul and became blank. Normally, when a new innie is created, they panic on suddenly finding themselves in a strange place. But not Gemma's Cold Harbor innie. This innie was calm and expressionless. When the voice from the speaker told her to enter the room, she was the same. Not startled, not scared, nothing. Next, he asked her,
"Who are you?"
And again, the same result. If you compare this with Helly's first appearance, she became sad when she didn't know who she was. Finally, he instructed her to start taking the crib apart, and she started on it without batting an eye. All of this seems to tell us that Cold Harbor worked. The creepy guy even said,
"The barrier is holding." She feels nothing.
Then Mark walked in and interrupted the whole thing, which most people put down as Cold Harbor doing what it was supposed to do regardless, because she felt nothing while taking the crib apart. So, what backs my theory of Cold Harbor failing? First is when she noticed Mark when he got into the room. She immediately assumed a defensive position, something that shouldn't happen if she is devoid of emotion. But this can be chalked down to pure animal instinct and may not have anything to do with Cold Harbor. The second is her dropping her guard and taking Mark's hand despite the incessant warnings from the speaker. Now I want you to look at the scene from this perspective. This innie is within the first few minutes of her life, so she's practically a baby. And like a baby, the first voice you hear is usually that of your mother. And you learn to trust that voice and look up to that voice. For this innie, that voice is the one in that speaker. And as we saw, she learned to trust it and even obey what the voice said. So in a way, a bond has been formed. Then comes this raggedy looking man with bloodstains all over him. Humans are born with instincts, and even babies know to cry or crawl away from anything that looks dangerous. And Mark definitely looked dangerous with all of the blood on him. But innie Gemma dropped her guard instead and took his hand, which means that even though Cold Harbor was supposed to create a clean consciousness by erasing even the Audi's subconscious, there was still a primal subconscious that recognized Mark and abandoned the bond with the voice that is supposed to be her mother's. For me, This gravitation towards Mark and away from the voice proves that Cold Harbor did not sever her ever-present bond with Mark, even in a subconscious state. Hence, Cold Harbor was not just interrupted, it never had a chance. Thanks for watching. I would like to know what you think. Do you agree with my theory? If not, what do you think I got wrong? Don't forget to like and subscribe. See you in the next video.